The sun was just beginning to set over the city skyline as May finished setting up her tables for the dinner rush. The soft glow of string lights reflected off the polished silverware as she straightened each napkin with care. 3 years at Bellissimo's had taught her exactly how everything should look. The high-end Italian restaurant attracted wealthy clients and demanding tourists, but May loved her job despite the challenges. Table 7 needs more bread, and 12 is asking for their check, called out Raj, another server rushing past with a tray balanced expertly on his palm. May nodded, already moving toward the kitchen. At 28, she had mastered the art of remembering a dozen different requests while maintaining the warm smile that had earned her so many regular customers. Her daughter's school photos were tucked into her wallet, the real reason she pushed through the long shifts and occasional difficult customers. Every tip brought her one step closer to saving enough for Lily's college fund. "Looks like we're in for a busy night," said May to Ava, the hostess, as she passed the front desk. The reservation book was filled with names, and already a small line had formed at the door. "Full moon," Ava replied with a knowing look. "Plus that convention at the Marriott. Better wear your running shoes tonight." May laughed, feeling the familiar mix of excitement and nervousness that came with a packed house. Busy nights meant better tips, but also more pressure. Her manager, Harold, had been increasingly strict about efficiency metrics lately, tracking how long servers took between tables and how quickly they turned over guests. The first 2 hours of her shift passed in a blur of pasta dishes, wine recommendations, and the choreographed dance of avoiding collisions with other servers in narrow pathways. By 8 o'clock, May had already served 11 tables, her order pad filled with hastily scribbled notes and her apron pockets heavy with tips. The rain started suddenly, a summer downpour that sent people scurrying inside from the restaurant's patio section. The kitchen fell behind as they scrambled to accommodate the unexpected influx, and Harold's face grew increasingly pinched as he watched the timing of orders slip. "Pick up the pace," he snapped at the kitchen staff. "We've got people waiting." May hurried to deliver a tray of entrees to table 14, a family celebrating a birthday, when she noticed a man standing just inside the entrance, dripping wet and looking completely lost. The hostess desk was momentarily empty as Ava had stepped away to help reseat the patio customers. The man was in his 50s, with silver-flecked dark hair and an expensive-looking but now soaked suit. He clutched a soggy piece of paper and was looking around with the unmistakable expression of someone far from home. May hesitated only briefly before setting down her tray at table 14 with a quick, "Please enjoy your meals. I'll be right back with more Parmesan." She approached the man with a smile. "Are you looking for a table, sir?" The man looked relieved that someone had addressed him, but his response came in rapid French, his hands gesturing in frustration as he pointed to the paper in his hand. "Je suis désolé," May said, using one of the few French phrases she knew. "Do you speak English?" "Small English, yes," he replied with a heavy accent. "Hotel? I find not." He showed her the paper, a reservation for the Grand Meridian Hotel. "Oh, you're lost," May realized. The man nodded vigorously, relief washing over his face at being understood. May glanced over her shoulder. Her tables would need attention soon, and Harold was watching the floor like a hawk, but the genuine distress on the man's face made her decision easy. "Your hotel is about 8 blocks from here," she explained, speaking slowly and clearly. When he still looked confused, she motioned for him to follow her to the hostess stand where a map of downtown was kept for tourists. "We are here," she said, pointing to their location on the map. "And your hotel is here." She traced the route with her finger, noticing how the man leaned in closely, his brow furrowed in concentration. He nodded slowly, but still looked uncertain. The rain hammered against the windows, and May knew sending him back out there with just a map would be unkind. "Wait one moment," she said, holding up a finger. She quickly borrowed Ava's phone and pulled up a translation app. "I'll help you get a taxi," she typed, showing him the French translation. His face brightened immediately. "Merci, merci beaucoup." May stepped outside under the awning and waved down a passing taxi, getting thoroughly splashed by a passing car in the process. When the taxi pulled up, she gave the driver clear instructions and even paid the first $5 of the fare from her own tip money. The Grand Meridian Hotel. "Please," she told the driver before turning to the French visitor. "He will take you directly there." "Merci," the man said again, his eyes crinkling warmly. He reached into his pocket and tried to offer her a $20 bill, but May shook her head. No need, she said with a smile. Just helping out. Have a good night. The man looked surprised but tucked the money away with a nod of appreciation. As he climbed into the taxi, he turned back. Your name? He asked. May, she replied. May, he repeated carefully. Jean-Pierre, he said, pointing to himself before the taxi pulled away into the rainy night. May hurried back inside, using napkins from the hostess stand to dry her arms and face. The whole interaction had taken less than 10 minutes, but as she re-entered the dining area, she could immediately sense something was wrong. Table 16 was looking around impatiently, and table 14 had empty water glasses. Worst of all, Harold was standing by her section, his arms crossed and his expression thunderous. Where have you been? He demanded in a harsh whisper as she approached. I'm sorry, May said, already moving to grab a water pitcher. There was a lost tourist who needed... We don't pay you to be a tour guide, Harold cut her off. Table 19 has been waiting to order for 8 minutes, and 14 is asking about their parmesan. I'll take care of it right away, May promised, hurrying to attend to her neglected tables. For the rest of her shift, she worked twice as hard, trying to make up for those few minutes. Most of her customers were understanding. A refilled wine glass here, a complimentary dessert there, and by closing time, she had almost forgotten the incident. The last guest trickled out around 11, and the staff began the nightly cleanup ritual. May was wiping down her section when Harold approached her again, this time with the general manager Diana beside him. May, can we see you in the office? Diana asked, her face unreadable. A knot formed in May's stomach as she followed them to the small back office. 3 years of excellent service, and she'd never once been called in like this. Have a seat, Diana said, gesturing to a chair across from the desk. Harold stood against the wall, arms crossed. Do you want to explain what happened tonight? May took a deep breath. A French tourist came in. He was lost and couldn't find his hotel. It was pouring rain, and he barely spoke English, so I helped him find his way and called him a taxi. It took maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes during our busiest dinner service of the week, Harold interjected. Table 16 complained about waiting. They were regulars, Dr. and Mrs. Winters. I apologized to them and comped their desserts, May said. They seemed understanding. Diana sighed. May, you know our policy. Servers are to remain in their sections unless on a designated break. We have a concierge and a hostess for tourist inquiries. Neither of them speak French, May pointed out. And Ava was reseating the patio guests because of the rain. That's not the point, Harold said sharply. You abandoned your assigned duties without permission. This isn't the first time you've bent the rules either. Last week you stayed 30 minutes after your shift to help that bachelor party find late-night food options. May felt her face flush. I was off the clock then. And tonight it was just basic human kindness. The man was completely lost. Diana looked uncomfortable but firm. We appreciate your customer service orientation, May, we really do. But Harold has reported multiple instances where you've prioritized going above and beyond over maintaining the workflow systems we've established. The conversation continued for another 15 minutes, but May could sense the decision had already been made. Words like efficiency and protocol floated around her, but all she could think about was Lily's tuition savings and their rent due in 2 weeks. We'll need you to turn in your apron tonight, Diana finally said. We'll mail your final paycheck. May sat still, stunned. You're firing me? Over helping someone find their hotel? We're terminating your employment due to repeated violations of floor protocols and time management requirements, Harold said formally, as if reading from a script. The walk home that night was long and quiet. The rain had stopped, but puddles reflected the streetlights in blurry halos that matched May's tear-filled vision. She thought about the French tourist, wondering if he'd made it safely to his hotel. She didn't regret helping him, couldn't imagine having done anything differently, but the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on her shoulders. How would she tell Lily? What would they do if she couldn't find another job quickly? The restaurant industry was tight-knit. Harold's negative reference could make things difficult. As she turned the key to her small apartment, May took a deep breath and straightened her shoulders. Tomorrow she would update her resume and start applying to every restaurant in the city. Tonight, though, she would allow herself to feel the sting of injustice and the fear of what might come next. Little did she know that across town, in a luxury suite at the Grand Meridian Hotel, Jean-Pierre was making a phone call that would change her life forever. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains of May's apartment, casting a warm glow across her small kitchen table. She sat hunched over her laptop, a half-empty cup of coffee growing cold beside her. The clock on the microwave showed 6:42 a.m. She'd barely slept. Her browser tabs were filled with job search websites and restaurant listings. The cursor blinked steadily at the end of yet another cover letter, this one for a server position at a steakhouse across town. It was her 7th application since dawn. "Mom?" A sleepy voice called from the hallway. "You're up early." May quickly forced a smile as her daughter, Lily, padded into the kitchen in mismatched pajamas, her dark hair tangled from sleep. "Just getting a head start on the day." "Sunshine," May said, closing her laptop. She wouldn't tell Lily about losing her job, not yet. Not until she had a plan. "How about some breakfast? We have those blueberries you like. Can we make pancakes?" Lily asked, already reaching for the mixing bowl. Of course, May agreed, grateful for the distraction. Cooking with Lily had always been their special time together. As they measured flour and whisked eggs, May pushed away thoughts of unpaid bills and looming rent. While Lily ate, May checked her phone for the 100th time, hoping for responses to the applications she'd sent last night. There was nothing except a text from Raj asking if she was okay. News of her firing had already spread through the restaurant staff. "I'm visiting Dad this weekend, right?" Lily asked, breaking into May's thoughts. May nodded. Her ex-husband lived across the city with his new wife. Though their relationship was strained, he was good about taking Lily every other weekend. "Yes, he's picking you up after school on Friday." "Can we go to the Science Museum on Sunday before he brings me back? We're studying ecosystems and they have a new rainforest exhibit." "You'll have to ask him, sweetie," May said, already calculating the entrance fee she couldn't afford if he said no. "Now finish up. The bus will be here soon." After walking Lily to the bus stop, May returned to her apartment and collapsed onto the couch. The brave face she maintained for her daughter crumbled as reality set in. 3 years at Bellissimo's, building relationships with regular customers, learning wine pairings, perfecting her service. All gone because she'd spent 10 minutes helping someone in need. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ava. "This is total BS. Harold's been looking for an excuse. The whole staff is talking about it." May appreciated the support but knew it wouldn't help her find a new job. She spent the next few hours updating her resume and sending out more applications. By noon, she'd applied to 15 positions. Only one had sent an automated response. Her phone rang just as she was making a simple lunch of leftover rice and vegetables. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello?" she answered, trying to keep the desperate hope out of her voice. "Is this May Lynn?" asked a woman with a crisp, professional tone. "Yes, this is she. I'm calling from the Grand Meridian Hotel. We received your application for the server position in our restaurant." May frowned. She hadn't applied there. The Grand Meridian was the hotel where she'd sent the French tourist the night before. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been a mistake. I haven't applied for a position at your hotel." There was a pause on the other end. "That's odd. Your name was specifically given to our hiring manager. Are you not looking for employment in the hospitality industry?" "I am, actually," May said, curiosity overtaking her confusion. "I have 3 years of experience as a server at Bellissimo's Italian restaurant." "Perfect. We'd like to bring you in for an interview this afternoon, if you're available." May glanced at her calendar, empty except for a reminder to pick up Lily from her after-school program at 5:30. "Yes, I could come in." "What time were you thinking? Would 2 p.m. work for you? Ask for Danielle at the front desk when you arrive." "I'll be there," May confirmed, already mentally sorting through her closet for something appropriate to wear. After hanging up, she stood in the middle of her kitchen, bewildered. How had her name reached the Grand Meridian? Then she remembered. The French tourist had asked for her name before leaving in the taxi. Could he have somehow recommended her? It seemed unlikely, but she couldn't think of any other explanation. The Grand Meridian Hotel stood like a gleaming pillar in the heart of downtown, its glass facade reflecting the afternoon sun. May felt small as she pushed through the revolving doors into the marble-floored lobby. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and well-dressed guests moved about with an air of casual luxury. At the reception desk, a young woman with an immaculate blonde bun greeted her. "Welcome to the Grand Meridian. How may I assist you today?" I'm Mei Lin. I have an interview at 2 p.m. I was told to ask for Danielle. The receptionist's professional smile warmed slightly. Yes, Ms. Lin, we've been expecting you. She made a quick call, then gestured toward a seating area. Danielle will be with you shortly. Would you care for a glass of water while you wait? May accepted gratefully, her mouth suddenly dry. She perched on the edge of a plush armchair, taking in her surroundings. The Grand Meridian was at least 2 levels above Bellissimo's in terms of luxury. The guests wore expensive watches and designer clothes, speaking in hushed tones about business deals and vacation plans. A woman in a tailored navy suit approached after a few minutes. Ms. Lin? I'm Danielle Petrov, HR Director. Thank you for coming on such short notice. She led May to an elevator bank reserved for staff and executives, swiping a key card to access the upper floors. As they rode up, Danielle asked casual questions about May's experience and background. Nodding approvingly at her answers, I should mention, May ventured during a pause, I'm still not sure how my name came up for this position. I didn't apply, Danielle smiled enigmatically. All will be explained shortly. The elevator opened directly into a corridor lined with meeting rooms. Danielle led May to a door at the end marked Executive Conference Room. Inside, a large wooden table dominated the space, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a spectacular view of the city skyline. Please, have a seat, Danielle said, gesturing to one of the leather chairs. Mr. Moreau will join us momentarily. Mr. Moreau? He repeated, the French name triggering a memory of the lost tourist. Before Danielle could respond, the door opened, and a man entered. May immediately recognized him. The silver-flecked dark hair, the expensive suit, dry now, and the warm eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. May, he said in his accented English. I am very pleased to see you again. May stood up stunned. You work here? The man laughed gently. Not exactly. He extended his hand. Jean-Pierre Moreau. I am the CEO of Lumiere Hotel Group. May shook his hand automatically, her mind racing to catch up. Lumiere was one of the largest luxury hotel chains in Europe, with locations expanding across Asia and the Americas. Please sit, Jean-Pierre said, taking a seat across from her. Danielle quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. I don't understand, May said. You were lost in the rain last night. Not exactly lost, Jean-Pierre admitted. I knew where I was going. But I visit new cities anonymously before opening a hotel there. I observe how people treat strangers, especially those who don't speak the language well. He leaned forward. You showed exceptional kindness last night. You put another person's needs before your own convenience. May felt a rush of emotions. Confusion, surprise, and a flicker of hope. So this is, what? A thank you? In part, Jean-Pierre nodded. But also I witnessed what happened afterward. I was waiting for my taxi when I saw through the window. Your manager was very angry. May looked down at her hands. I was fired. This is why I asked for your name, Jean-Pierre said, his expression darkening. In my company, we value humanity over rigid rules. What you did, helping someone who needed it, this is the foundation of true hospitality. He slid a folder across the table. This is why I would like to offer you a position. May opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside was an employment contract for Guest Experience Coordinator at the soon-to-open Lumiere Chicago. The salary listed made her eyes widen. It was more than twice what she'd made at Bellissimo's. I don't understand, she said again. This position? I'm not qualified for this. Jean-Pierre shook his head. You are exactly qualified. You understand what matters most in hospitality. Genuine care for people. The technical skills can be taught. The heart cannot. May stared at the contract, her mind whirling with possibilities. A salary like this would mean security for her and Lily. It would mean the college fund could grow faster. It would mean no more juggling bills or worrying about rent. The position includes health benefits, of course, Jean-Pierre continued, and a flexible schedule that can accommodate your family needs. Danielle mentioned you have a daughter. May nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. There is one more thing, Jean-Pierre said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out an envelope and placed it on the table. A signing bonus, shall we say, to help with any immediate concerns while you transition to your new role. May opened the envelope and gasped. Inside was a check that would cove 6 months of rent, I can't accept this, she whispered. You can, Jean-Pierre insisted gently. And you will. Consider it an investment in the future of Lumiere Chicago. A tear slipped down May's cheek before she could stop it. 24 hours ago, she had been a server doing her job. Now she sat across from a hotel magnate who was offering her a lifeline because she'd done what anyone should do, help someone in need. I don't know what to say, she admitted. Jean-Pierre smiled. Say yes, and then tell me about your ideas for making guests feel truly welcome in a foreign city. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the conference table, May began to talk. With each word, the weight of yesterday's despair lifted, replaced by something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. May stood at the bus stop, clutching the leather portfolio Danielle had given her. Inside were her signed contract, employee handbook, and the check that still seemed unreal. The afternoon sun was warm on her face as she watched traffic pass, the world somehow brighter than it had been that morning. Her phone buzzed with a text from Raj. Any luck with the job hunt? She stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. How could she explain what had just happened? It felt like something from a movie, not real life. After a moment, she simply typed, I'll tell you everything soon. It's been a wild day. The bus arrived and May found a seat by the window. As the city rolled by, she mentally rehearsed how she would tell Lily about the new job. At 8 years old, her daughter was perceptive enough to know something had changed, but might not understand the significance of this opportunity. When the bus reached her stop, May checked the time, 3:45 p.m. She had over an hour before she needed to pick up Lily from the after-school program. On impulse, she turned toward the small bakery on the corner instead of heading home. The bell chimed as she pushed open the door of Sweet Crumbs Bakery. The owner, an older woman named Fiona, looked up from arranging cookies in the display case. May, shouldn't you be at work? Fiona asked, then noticed May's formal attire. Oh, did you have an interview? May had become friends with Fiona over the years, often stopping for day-old bread at reduced prices when money was tight. The baker had slipped extra treats into her bag more times than May could count, always with a wink and a whispered, for Lily. I did have an interview, May confirmed, unable to keep the smile from spreading across her face. And I got the job. A really good job, Fiona. Well, now that calls for celebration, Fiona declared, wiping her hands on her apron. Tell me everything while I box up some cupcakes for you and Lily. Over fresh coffee and a still warm cinnamon roll that Fiona insisted she eat, May recounted the events of the past 24 hours. The lost French businessman, her firing, and the unexpected job offer. Fiona's eyes grew wider with each turn in the story. My goodness, she breathed when May finished. It's like something from a fairy tale. I keep thinking I'll wake up, May admitted, turning her coffee cup in small circles. Things like this don't happen to people like me. Fiona reached across the table and patted May's hand. Of course they do, dear. Good things happen to good people all the time. It's just that we hear more about the bad stuff. She smiled warmly. You help someone without expecting anything in return. That's the kind of karma that comes back around. May left the bakery with a box of Lily's favorite chocolate cupcakes and a lighter heart. Fiona's simple acceptance of her good fortune made it feel more real somehow. At the after-school program, May watched through the window for a moment before going inside. Lily sat at a small table, her tongue caught between her teeth in concentration as she colored a picture. The sight brought tears to May's eyes, tears of relief and gratitude. The financial strain that had been a constant shadow over their lives was lifting. Mom, Lily looked up as May entered, her face brightening. You're early. I thought we could use some extra time together today, May said, helping Lily gather her things. And I brought a surprise. Outside, Lily's eyes widened at the sight of the bakery box. Sweet Crumbs? On a Thursday? May laughed. We have something special to celebrate. Let's go to the park and I'll tell you all about it. They sat on a bench near the playground, cupcakes in hand, as May explained in simple terms what had happened. She was careful not to share her fear about being fired or the financial worries, focusing instead on the exciting opportunity ahead. So you helped a lost man who turned out to be a hotel boss? Lily summarized, chocolate frosting dotting the corner of her mouth. That's right. And he liked how I helped him so much that he offered me a job at his new hotel. That's cool, Lily said, considering this. Does this mean you won't have to work late nights anymore? The question caught May off guard. She hadn't realized how aware Lily was of the toll the restaurant hours took on their family time. Actually, yes, May said, remembering the details Jean-Pierre had outlined. I'll mostly work during regular business hours, and I'll make more money so we won't have to worry so much about bills. Lily's face lit up. So you can come to my school play next month? For real? May swallowed hard against the lump in her throat. She'd missed Lily's winter concert because Harold had refused to give her the night off. Yes, sunshine. For real. As they walked home, Lily skipping ahead and chattering about her day, May's phone rang. The caller ID showed Bellissimo's number. She hesitated before answering. Hello? May, it's Diana. Her former manager's voice sounded strained. I've been thinking about what happened yesterday and I wanted to talk to you. May stopped walking, motioning for Lily to wait. What about? I think Harold was too harsh. We've had several customers ask for you today and the lunch service was a mess without you. Diana paused. I spoke with the owner and we'd like to offer you your job back. With a small raise. The irony of the timing wasn't lost on May. 24 hours ago, this call would have been a lifeline. Now it was simply confirmation that she'd been valued but not respected. That's kind of you to call, Diana, May said carefully, watching Lily examine a line of ants on the sidewalk. But I've accepted another position. Already? Diana sounded surprised. Where? The Lumiere Hotel Group, May said, feeling a swell of pride. I'm going to be their guest experience coordinator when they open their Chicago location. There was a long pause. That's impressive, Diana finally said. Well, if it doesn't work out, our door's open. May thanked her politely and hung up, feeling an unexpected sense of closure. She didn't need Bellissimos anymore. Later that evening, after Lily was tucked in bed with a story, May sat at her kitchen table with a cup of tea. The leather portfolio lay open before her, the employee handbook waiting to be read. According to the schedule Danielle had given her, she would start training next Monday, just 4 days away. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jean-Pierre. I hope today was not too overwhelming. Danielle speaks highly of our conversation. Rest well, and welcome to Lumiere family. May smiled at the formal yet warm message. She saved the number and replied, Thank you for this opportunity. I won't let you down. She turned to the first page of the handbook, determination replacing her earlier disbelief. This was happening. This was real. The next morning brought a flurry of activity. May called Lily's father to explain the new situation and ask if he could keep Lily through Monday while she began her training. Though initially surprised, he agreed readily. That's fantastic news, May, he said, sounding genuinely pleased for her. And don't worry about the Science Museum. I'll take her on Sunday like she wanted. Thanks, Chen, May said, grateful for his support despite their complicated history. I'll pick her up Monday evening. After dropping Lily at school, May headed to the bank to deposit the check. The teller did a double take at the amount, glancing between the check and May with barely concealed curiosity. New job, May explained with a small smile. Congratulations, the teller said, processing the deposit. It'll be available in your account by tomorrow. Walking out of the bank, May felt lighter than she had in years. The constant weight of financial insecurity was lifting. She checked her watch, 10:30 a.m. On a normal day, she would be setting up for lunch service at Bellissimo's, listening to Harold bark orders and worrying about making enough in tips. Instead, she had the day to herself. Time to prepare for her new role. Time to breathe. Her phone rang as she was window shopping for professional clothes, another luxury she'd rarely indulged in. It was Danielle from Lumiere. May, I hope I'm not interrupting anything important, the HR director began. Not at all, May assured her. What can I do for you? Jean-Pierre has moved up his schedule and will be in Chicago through the weekend. He's asked if you might be available for lunch tomorrow to discuss some ideas for the guest experience program. May felt a flutter of nervousness mixed with excitement. Of course. Should I prepare anything? Just bring yourself and your perspective, Danielle said warmly. Jean-Pierre values authentic input above all else. That's why he's so impressed with you. After hanging up, May stood on the sidewalk, taking in the bustling city around her. 24 hours earlier, she'd been applying for server positions and worrying about making rent. Now she was preparing for lunch with a hotel magnate who valued her opinion. Life could change in an instant, sometimes for the woe. Caprice, but sometimes remarkably for the better, all because she'd chosen kindness when it wasn't convenient. With renewed purpose, May headed into a department store. It was time to find an outfit suitable for lunch with her new boss. Morning sunlight spilled across May's bedroom floor as she stood before the mirror, adjusting the collar of her new blouse. The navy blue outfit she'd purchased yesterday still had the crisp look of unworn clothes, a small price tag stub forgotten in the sleeve serving as a reminder of how quickly her life was changing. Too formal, she asked her reflection, smoothing down the pencil skirt that felt foreign after years of wearing the standard black pants and white shirt of Bellissimo's uniform. She'd spent more on this single outfit than her entire wardrobe budget for the past 6 months, yet the investment felt necessary. First impressions mattered, especially for lunch with someone like Jean-Pierre Moreau. Her phone chimed with a text from Ava. "Good luck today. Still can't believe this is happening." "You deserve it." May smiled, typing back a quick thanks. She'd finally told her former co-workers about the new job, receiving a flood of congratulatory messages tinged with good-natured envy. Only Harold had remained silent, though Diana mentioned he'd been reassessing certain management policies since May's departure. At precisely 11:30, May stepped out of a taxi in front of the Grand Meridian Hotel, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nerves. The doorman nodded respectfully as she passed, a stark contrast to how service workers like her were typically treated. Inside, the lobby hummed with the quiet energy of mid-morning check-ins and business meetings. Danielle was waiting near the reception desk, smartly dressed in a charcoal suit that somehow looked both professional and fashionable. "Perfect timing," she said, greeting May with a warm smile. "Jean-Pierre is waiting in the private dining room." As they walked through the hotel, Danielle filled May in on the morning's events. Jean-Pierre has been in meetings with contractors since 7 a.m. The Chicago property acquisition was finalized yesterday, so things are moving quickly now. "When is the hotel scheduled to open?" May asked, mentally calculating how much time she would have to prepare for her new role. "That's partly what he wants to discuss with you," Danielle replied cryptically as they approached a set of double doors. "Ready?" The private dining room was smaller than May had expected, with a round table set for 3 by a window overlooking the city. Jean-Pierre stood as they entered, his expression brightening. "Ah, May, thank you for coming," he said, gesturing to the table. "Please join us." May noticed a third person in the room, a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair pulled into an elegant knot. She had the same warm eyes as Jean-Pierre, though her features were sharper. "This is my sister Camille," Jean-Pierre introduced. "She oversees our guest experience programs across all Lumiere properties." Camille extended her hand with a smile that immediately put May at ease.
"My brother has told me so much about you."
I insisted on meeting the woman who impressed him so thoroughly. Over a lunch of delicate seafood and fresh salads, May found herself drawn into a conversation that felt more like a creative brainstorming session than a formal meeting. Jean-Pierre and Camille asked questions about her experiences in customer service, listening intently to her answers. "What do you think makes a guest feel truly welcome?" Camille asked, pouring sparkling water into May's glass. May considered the question carefully. "I think it's about seeing them as individuals, not just customers. Understanding what they need sometimes before they know themselves." Jean-Pierre nodded approvingly. "And how did you learn to do this?" "I've been a single mom for 6 years," May said honestly. "You learn to read people when your tips depend on it. But more than that, I remember what it feels like to be invisible. The best service I've given is when I make people feel seen." Camille exchanged a significant look with her brother. "That's exactly the philosophy behind Lumiere's success," she said. "The luxury hotel market is saturated with properties offering the same amenities. What sets us apart is how we make guests feel." Jean-Pierre leaned forward, his expression earnest. "May, we brought you here today because we want to expand your role beyond what we initially discussed." May set down her fork, a flicker of anxiety crossing her face. "Expand how?" "The Chicago property will be our North American flagship," Camille explained. "We want to implement a completely new guest experience program there, something that could eventually be rolled out across all our hotels. We'd like you to lead the development of this program," Jean-Pierre added, working directly with Camille, of course. May blinked, trying to process what they were saying. "Lead, but I just joined the company. I don't have any management experience." "You have life experience," Camille said firmly. and authentic empathy which can't be taught in any business school. This would mean a title change, Jean-Pierre continued. Director of Guest Experience Innovation, reporting directly to Camille and myself. The salary would be adjusted accordingly, of course. May felt slightly dizzy. 2 days ago, she'd been a server. Now these accomplished people were offering her a director-level position at a luxury hotel chain. I don't know what to say, she admitted. Say you'll consider it, Camille suggested gently. We know it's a lot to take in. The position would require some travel to our other properties, and more responsibility than we initially discussed. What about the hours? May asked, thinking of Lily. I have my daughter to consider. Family comes first at Lumiere, Jean-Pierre assured her. The role would have flexible hours, and we provide excellent family benefits, including emergency childcare options. By the time dessert arrived, a trio of delicate French pastries, May found herself growing excited rather than overwhelmed. The siblings' enthusiasm was contagious, and the vision they described for the new program aligned perfectly with her own values. I have one condition, May said finally, surprising herself with her boldness. Jean-Pierre raised an eyebrow, looking amused. Yes? I want to build a team that includes people like me, service workers with real-world experience, not just hospitality management degrees. Camille laughed delightedly. I told you she was perfect, she said to her brother. That's exactly what we need. Authentic perspectives. As lunch concluded, Jean-Pierre handed May a folder containing the formal offer for the expanded role. Take the weekend to think about it, he said. We can discuss details on Monday when you start your training. Outside the hotel, May took a deep breath of the warm afternoon air, the folder clutched tightly in her hands. She pulled out her phone to check the time and saw 3 missed calls from Chen, her ex-husband. Frowning, she called him back immediately. Finally, he answered, sounding frazzled. Lily's school has been trying to reach you. She fell during recess and might have sprained her wrist. They're taking her to Westside Urgent Care. I'm on my way, May said, already flagging down a taxi. Tell her I'll be there soon. 20 minutes later, May rushed into the urgent care center, her heart racing. The receptionist directed her to a treatment room where she found Lily sitting on an exam table, her left wrist wrapped in an ice pack. Chen stood nearby, looking relieved at May's arrival. Mom. Lily's face brightened despite her obvious discomfort. I fell off the monkey bars. She's quite the daredevil, the doctor said with a reassuring smile. It's just a mild sprain. She'll need to rest it for a few days, but kids heal quickly. As the doctor explained the care instructions, May noticed Lily eyeing her outfit curiously. You look fancy, her daughter observed. Like a business lady, May smiled, smoothing Lily's hair back from her forehead. I had a special lunch meeting. I'll tell you all about it later. After completing the paperwork and thanking Chen for his help, May took Lily home. They stopped for ice cream on the way. Medicine for the soul, May called it, making Lily giggle. At home, with Lily settled on the couch watching cartoons, May finally had a moment to open the folder Jean-Pierre had given her. The salary figure made her gasp. It was nearly 4 times what she'd made at Bellissimo's. The benefits package included comprehensive health insurance, a retirement plan, and an education fund contribution that could go toward Lily's college savings. Mom, Lily called from the living room. Can you come sit with me? May set the papers aside and joined her daughter on the couch, carefully adjusting the ice pack on Lily's wrist. How's it feeling? Better, Lily said, leaning against May's side. Tell me about your fancy lunch. Was it with the hotel man? May nodded, putting her arm around Lily's shoulders. Him and his sister. They offered me an even better job than we talked about yesterday. That's good, right? Lily asked, looking up at May's face. You look worried. May smiled, amazed as always by her daughter's perceptiveness. It's a big change, sunshine. Big changes can be scary, even when they're good. Like when I started 2nd grade, Lily said thoughtfully. I was scared, but now I love my teacher. Exactly like that, May agreed. The new job would mean I might have to travel sometimes. Not a lot, but occasionally. Lily considered this. Would I go with you? Sometimes during school breaks, May said. Other times you might stay with Dad. Or maybe we could look into a different arrangement. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching the colorful characters on the television screen. May's mind drifted to the conversation with Jean-Pierre and Camille. their belief in her abilities despite her lack of formal qualifications. "I think you should take it," Lily said suddenly, breaking into May's thoughts. "Take what, sunshine?" "The fancy job," Lily said matter-of-factly. "You smile different when you talk about it." "Not like when you talked about the restaurant." Out of the mouths of babes, May thought, looking at her daughter with wonder. In the space of 48 hours, her life had been completely upended, first for worse, then for better. And through it all, this wise little person had been watching and understanding more than May had realized. "You know what?" May said, hugging Lily closer. "I think I will take it." Later that night, after Lily was asleep, May sat at her kitchen table and drafted an email to Jean-Pierre and Camille, accepting their offer. As she typed the final sentence, a sense of rightness settled over her. Sometimes the universe had strange ways of guiding people exactly where they needed to be. 6 months later, May stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her new office, watching the Chicago skyline glitter in the late afternoon sun. Behind her, the wall displayed framed photographs of smiling hotel staff and guests, visual reminders of the program she had built from the ground up. A gentle knock at the door pulled her attention away from the view. Camille entered, elegant as always in a burgundy suit that complemented her silver-streaked hair. "The final walkthrough is starting in 15 minutes, she reminded. "Mickey, Jean-Pierre just arrived from the airport," May nodded, smoothing down her tailored jacket. "I'll be right there, just gathering my notes." As Camille left, May took a moment to absorb the reality of her surroundings. The Lumiere Chicago was opening tomorrow after months of preparation, and as Director of Guest Experience Innovation, she would be at the center of it all. The journey to this moment had been intense. After accepting the position, May had spent weeks in training, traveling to Lumiere properties in Paris, Tokyo, and Barcelona to study their operations. Lily had joined her during summer break for the European trip, turning work into a magical adventure for both of them. Balancing single motherhood with her new career had presented challenges, but the Moreau siblings had been true to their word about flexibility. When Lily came down with the flu during a crucial planning week, May had worked from home without question. When important meetings coincided with Lily's school events, schedules were rearranged to accommodate both. May grabbed her tablet and headed for the elevator. In the gleaming lobby, a team of managers and executives had gathered for the final inspection before tomorrow's grand opening. Jean-Pierre stood at the center, gesturing animatedly as he described his vision to a group of attentive listeners. "Ah, May," he called when he spotted her. "The woman of the hour. Come tell everyone about your welcome program." As the group turned to her, May felt a momentary flutter of nerves. Among the polished executives with their business degrees and years of experience, she sometimes still felt like an imposter, the former waitress playing dress-up in the corporate world. But then she remembered what Jean-Pierre had told her during a moment of doubt. "We didn't hire you despite your background. We hired you because of it." "The Lumiere welcome experience is built on 3 pillars, May began confidently. "Personalization, anticipation, and connection. Every guest who walks through our doors will be treated not as a room number, but as an individual with unique needs and preferences." She led the group through the lobby, pointing out the specially designed welcome stations where guests would be greeted with refreshments, tailored to their arrival time and travel origin. "Someone arriving on a red-eye from Tokyo will receive a different welcome than a family driving in from Milwaukee," she explained. The tour continued through the hotel's restaurants, spa, and common areas with May, highlighting the thoughtful touches her team had implemented. Many of these ideas had come from the diverse staff she'd assembled. Former servers, housekeepers, and front desk workers who understood hospitality from the ground up. "And this," May said, stopping before an elegant wall display near the main elevators, "is our Community Connection program." The display featured information about local businesses, artists, and attractions curated specifically for different types of travelers. "We're not just selling luxury rooms," May explained. "We're offering authentic Chicago experiences." Jean-Pierre nodded approvingly. "This is exactly what sets Lumiere apart. Anyone can offer Egyptian cotton sheets and marble bathrooms. You've created something that cannot be replicated because it comes from genuine understanding of people." As the walkthrough concluded in the grand ballroom, where final preparations were underway for tomorrow's opening gala, Camille pulled May aside. "Jean-Pierre and I have something to discuss with you." she said quietly. Can you join us in the executive suite after this? May checked her watch. She had promised to be home by 6 to help Lily with a science project. Can we make it quick? I have a commitment with my daughter this evening. Of course, Camille smiled. Family first always. 30 minutes later, May sat across from the Moreau siblings in the hotel's most luxurious suite, trying to process what they had just proposed. You want to expand the program globally? She repeated. Already? Jean-Pierre nodded enthusiastically. The training protocols you've developed, the staff selection criteria, the guest journey mapping, it's revolutionary. Our board of directors reviewed your program documentation last week and voted unanimously to implement it across all Lumiere properties. This would mean a promotion, Camille added. Global Director of Guest Experience, reporting directly to the Executive Committee. You would oversee implementation teams on 3 continents. May took a deep breath. That sounds like a lot of travel. It would be, Jean-Pierre acknowledged. Perhaps 3 or 4 international trips per quarter, for the first year at least. But we've thought about your situation. He slid a folder across the coffee table. This proposal includes provisions for Lily to travel with you during school breaks and a flexible work-from-home schedule between trips. May opened the folder, scanning the details. The salary increase was substantial, but what caught her eye was a note about educational opportunities, tuition coverage for hospitality, management courses at Northwestern University. You've mentioned wanting to fill the gaps in your formal education, Camille explained, noticing where May's attention had focused. This would make that possible. I need some time to think about this, May said honestly. And to talk with Lily. This would affect her life too. Of course, Jean-Pierre agreed. Take the weekend. We can discuss it again after the opening festivities. That evening, May sat at her kitchen table helping Lily build a model of the solar system. Their apartment was the same. She had decided against moving immediately, preferring to save for a down payment on a house, but it was filled with souvenirs from their travels and new books about hotels and hospitality. You're quiet tonight. Mom? Lily observed, carefully painting Neptune a deep blue. Are you nervous about tomorrow? May smiled at her perceptive daughter. A little, but there's something else too. She set down the glue gun she'd been using to attach rings to Saturn. I was offered another promotion today. Lily looked up with interest. A bigger job than you have now? Much bigger, May confirmed. It would mean overseeing programs at all the Lumiere hotels around the world, not just the one in Chicago. Would we move away? Lily asked, her brow furrowing. No, we'd still live here, May assured her. But I would need to travel more, sometimes for a week or 2 at a time. Lily considered this, rolling the small model of Earth between her palms. Would I stay with Dad when you're gone? Sometimes. Or Grandma might come stay here with you. May watched her daughter's expression carefully. What do you think about that? Lily was quiet for a moment, concentrating on attaching Earth to its wire stand. I'd miss you, she said finally. But I know your job is important. Nothing is more important than you, May said firmly. Lily looked up, her eyes serious. Remember when I wanted to quit soccer because it was too hard? And you told me sometimes the hard things are worth doing because they make us better? May nodded, touched that her daughter remembered that conversation from nearly a year ago. I think your big job is like that, Lily continued. It's hard, but it makes you happy. You smile more now than you did at the restaurant. The simple truth of this observation caught May by surprise. She did smile more now, not just because of the financial security or professional recognition, but because she was using her natural talents in ways that were valued and appreciated. When did you get so wise? May asked, reaching across the table to squeeze Lily's hand. Lily grinned. I get it from my mom. The next evening, May stood at the entrance of the Lumiere Chicago's grand ballroom, greeting guests as they arrived for the opening gala. Dressed in a floor-length gown of deep emerald, a gift from Camille for the occasion, she felt a world away from the waitress uniform she'd worn just 6 months earlier. Jean-Pierre approached, champagne flutes in hand. To new beginnings, he said, offering her a glass. And to kindness that comes full circle, May added, thinking of that rainy night when she'd helped a lost French businessman find his way. Have you thought about our offer? He asked as they watched the Glamoreux,